Hi, boys and girls. We're so glad that you're here today. We get to learn about another Bible story together. Last week, we learned about Joseph, who was Abraham's great-grandson. This week, we get to learn about Joseph's great-grandson, whose name is
Moses.
That's right. Now, Moses' story is not found in Genesis. It's found in the second book of the Bible, in the book of Exodus. Let's take a listen. The Story for Children, read with the permission of HarperCollins Christian Publishing. A Hebrew woman named Jochebed gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Pharaoh wanted all of the Hebrew baby boys killed, so Jochebed hid her precious child to keep him safe. "Please, God, help me save my son," she prayed. Jochebed placed the baby in a basket and floated it in the Nile River. Miriam, the baby's sister, watched from a distance. When Pharaoh's daughter came to the river to bathe, she spotted the basket in the reeds. "Poor child," said the princess. "He is a Hebrew baby. I will keep him as my own and call him Moses, because I brought him out of the water." Moses became the son of the princess. He grew up in the palace in Egypt. But when Pharaoh tried to kill him for harming an Egyptian, Moses ran away to the desert. Moses lived in the desert of Midian for many years. One day, on Mount Horeb, the mountain of God, Moses noticed a bush covered in flames. He wondered, why isn't the bush burning up? Suddenly, a voice boomed out of the flames. "Moses, Moses, do not come any closer. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I have heard the cries of my people. I am going to rescue them. Go back to Egypt. Tell Pharaoh to let my people go." Moses was shaking. "No, Lord, not me. Who am I to talk to Pharaoh? Send somebody else." "I will be with you, Moses. Here is a sign to show that I sent you. Throw your staff on the ground, and it will turn into a snake." Moses did as God instructed, and a snake slithered on the ground where the staff had been. Moses grabbed the snake's tail, and it turned into a staff again. Moses saw God's power. Now Moses was ready to lead God's people. Sky, can I ask you a couple of questions? What are some things that you're really good at?
I'm good at coloring, puzzles, dribbling with the ball, 9 square.
That's right, you are really good at those things. Now, what are some things you're not so good at?
Basketball, hockey.
Those are harder, aren't they? Now, what would you say if I asked you to shoot a basket in the basketball goal?
No.
You wouldn't? Why?
Because it's too tall.
It's too tall? You don't think you can do it? Now, what if I told you that Daddy was going to lift you up way high to where you could reach the basketball goal? Would you try then?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's great. And that's kind of what happened in today's story. Moses didn't think that he could talk to Pharaoh. He didn't think he could convince him to let all of the people go. But God said, "I will give you miracles, and Pharaoh will do it. Just trust me."
All right, boys and girls. Here is the Bible challenge this week.
We want you to tell us at least 3 of the plagues that God sent to prove that he was the one true God.
Moses entered Pharaoh's throne room. The God of the Hebrews wants his people to worship him in the desert. Let the people go and worship God. "No," Pharaoh said, "I need them here." "God Almighty is angry with you, Pharaoh. He will cause things to happen if you don't listen." So God sent a plague. The Nile River flowed red with blood. The water in all the ponds, pools, and fountains turned to blood. "Make it stop," cried Pharaoh. So Moses prayed to God, and the water in Egypt flowed clean and sweet and clear again. A week later, Moses went to Pharaoh. "Let my people go." Pharaoh said no. So God sent a second plague to show Pharaoh his power. Frogs invaded Egypt. They splashed in the water. They rolled in the dirt. They climbed in the windows and jumped on the beds. "Make it stop," cried Pharaoh. So Moses prayed to God, and the frogs jumped back into the Nile River where they belonged. Then God sent a third plague, and dust on the ground turned into tiny, nasty gnats. They buzzed in the air. They landed on the people and the animals. And Moses went to Pharaoh again and said, "Let my people go." Pharaoh said no. So God sent a fourth plague. Thick swarms of flies poured into Pharaoh's palace and the houses of the Egyptians. Every building, every barn, every porch and kitchen was covered with flies. Pharaoh said, "Make it stop." So Moses prayed to God, and all the flies flew away. Then God sent a fifth plague. All the livestock in the fields of Egypt died. The horses and donkeys, camels and cattle, sheep and goats fell over dead. But Pharaoh would not let God's people go. Then God told Moses to throw handfuls of soot from the furnace into the air. He did, and nasty sores called boils broke out on the people and the animals. That was the sixth plague. And Moses went to Pharaoh and said, "Let my people go." And again Pharaoh said, "No." So God sent a seventh plague. He sent hail and thunder and lightning. It was the worst storm Egypt had ever seen. The hail flattened the crops in the field and stripped the leaves off of the trees. "Make it stop," cried Pharaoh. So Moses prayed to God, and the hailstorm ended. Then God sent the eighth plague. Swarms of locusts covered the land. They ate all the plants and every tree. The insects filled the houses of Pharaoh and all the Egyptians. "Make it stop," cried Pharaoh. So Moses prayed to God, and the wind blew the locusts away. Then God told Moses to point to the sky, and Moses did, and suddenly a thick darkness covered Egypt. For 3 days the people couldn't see anything. That was the ninth plague. God told Moses he had one more plague. "At midnight I will go through the land of Egypt. Every firstborn son in every household will die, but my people will be safe. This will be the worst plague of all. Then Pharaoh will let my people go." It all happened just as God said. "Get out now," cried Pharaoh. "Take what you need and leave." So Moses led God's people out of Egypt. He led the people through the desert to the shore of the Red Sea. The people looked straight ahead and saw only water. They turned around and saw Pharaoh's army charging across the desert. "We are going to die," they cried. "Don't be afraid. The Lord will fight for you. Be calm and watch what God will do." And Moses raised his staff toward the sea. Suddenly the wind blew, and the water piled up into huge walls, leaving a dry path through the center of the Red Sea. The people walked to the other side on the dry ground that God provided. And Pharaoh's chariots and soldiers raced after the people. When the entire army was in the middle of the sea, God made the walls of water crash in on them. The sea swallowed the Egyptian army, the chariots, and the horses. But God's people were safe on the other side.
You see, boys and girls, when God sent the plagues on Egypt, he was showing them that he was the one true God. The Egyptians, well, they worshipped a lot of different gods. They worshipped the god of the Nile. Well, God proved who was stronger there, didn't he? God turned the Nile River to blood. The Egyptians worshipped a god of frogs. Well, who commanded the frogs? God did. He sent all of the frogs to cover everything everywhere. Their frog god couldn't stop it. And when God sent darkness to cover the land for 3 days, he was showing them that he was more powerful than Pharaoh, who was supposed to be a descendant of the sun god. God was showing them that he was the one true God. All right, well, that's it from us.
Bye.
Will that work?
Yeah.
Should we do it one more time just in
No,
case?
no.
We're done? Okay,
Yeah.
we're done.